Aloha, everyone. Welcome to Java. Thank you for joining me for Monday. This is September 18th, 2023. Oh, I've got a large indicator up here. It's the MMRI, and it's rapidly approaching 300, which is the extreme risk level. We're at 284 today, and watching the 10-year yield is above the 4.3 and rising. We've got the dollar index is kind of under pressure right now. So I'm doing this early and pre-market hasn't really set in yet. And it looks like it's quite a nervous market. Little on the green side, we've got the volatility index that's set to kind of come up. And we've got oil is again increasing. So they're looking at that because Russia and Saudi again are keeping supply short. So what we're looking forward to mostly today and for the rest of this week, the large stories are the Federal Reserve on Wednesday. They're actually going to have their meeting, as well as the government shutdown that's looming ahead if they don't come to a deal. So we know that they're going to raise it and they will eventually come to a deal. But in the meantime, it's causing a little bit of issues in the market. We've got the United Auto Workers strike still going on. And today we're expecting some housing starts numbers. So I think most of the volatility is not necessarily the numbers, but everything else surrounding this. So when we've got this nervous market, when we look at the banks, the Federal Reserve wants to cool spending. Another way to say that is they want to continue crushing demand from the consumer so they can't buy anymore. So we've got the strike still happening, shutdown, as we said, and then also student loans are coming due for the payments. So if you don't know who this is Christine Lagarde. She's head of the ECB, the European Central Bank, basically, saying that they're kind of at their peak rates, but that they may still have to battle inflation, meaning raise rates further. So as we were talking about before, they must stay in lockstep with United States Western banks, because if one gets too far out of line, they'll have a currency crisis in one of the major areas. And that could cause kind of a systemic issue there. So, got a couple of other things aside from this government shutdown. Um, we've got the IRS is looking to begin using artificial intelligence to find tax cheats. So somehow they can lose $6.2 billion, but they're going to use AI to start chasing everybody for their $600 transactions through Venmo. So anyway, back to the banks, which is larger issue. We've got the US banks closing in September 2023. So the list of that banks, we had the FDIC come out telling us that some of the banks were weak, but they wouldn't tell us which ones. So with this story, they're spinning it as they're moving to automated systems so they don't need the branch banks, which is a bunch of garbage to cover this up. And I don't know anybody that's falling for this. However, I wanted to let you know the list of banks that they had. So on this list that they posted that they are closing branch banks are Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, so some really larger ones there, City National Bank, First Citizens Bank, and Santander. So all of these banks are going to be closing branches by fall, this next month or so. And then we've also got hedge fund founder Kyle Bass. Now, he's bringing up the other side of this, the other risk factor. The commercial real estate and office space loans still could lose $250 billion. So, paired with that, we've got the US bank deposits dropping $70 billion this week alone from withdrawals. So this is what's going on as silent bank runs. People are finally kind of cluing around. Some of them are getting their money out of the bank, as I think that they should, but they're covering this story. 70 billion from withdrawals. So silent bank runs going on right now. If you haven't yet, get your money out of the bank. Everything except what you need to keep in there to pay your bills is what I recommend. This is going to continue. The banks also have some unrealized losses, some of the largest that they've ever had. It's nearing $600 billion because of the bonds losing the money with this yield curve inversion. So they've also got a problem with the mortgage applications because if they can't make loans, they're not creating money and they're losing even more because they don't have income. So their mortgage applications have dropped to the lowest level since 1996. So this is a huge issue for them. So as far as the dollar is concerned, in another side story, Saudi Arabia has reduced their US Treasury holdings from, they used to hold 184 billion back in 2020. Now they're down to 108 and they're still trimming. So this is really bad news for the dollar going forward. It's still in a position of power. However, it is weakening at a rapid rate. So with this, we've got the reality of the economy. And so consumers were charging their food with credit cards. They couldn't afford the bills anymore. They started using their credit cards. Now they can't pay their credit cards, so they're turning to personal loans, trying to keep their credit cards alive as long as possible. And it's not going to last long. So we've got US median household income falling for the third straight year. And the reality, they're trying to say the economy is doing really well. We're going to have this soft landing or no landing at all. In the meantime, New York City homelessness levels are comparing to the Great Depression. So we've got some very serious problems in real life. So moving forward to our trade, we've also got some supply issues that are going to be coming up and continuing. The Panama Canal running dry. And so they're blaming the US, but at any rate, they've got a 21-day backup for the Panama Canal, and supplies are not going to get here. That is going to be even further inflationary moving forward. So we'll see what goes on with this. Now, we've got the president warning us that there's tremendous danger of nuclear weapons, and at the same time, that's kind of, he's bolstering this because war is bullish for the stock market and the economy. And just want to warn you that this is a possibility they're going to turn to for the crisis they need to force the change. So while we have all of these issues going on and we've got a debt ceiling we're hitting, we're doing a prisoner exchange with Iran for 6 prisoners and releasing $6 billion. So on top, we're seeing the Taliban has detained Americans and 17 others. And this is just going to continue. Basically, we just said these people are for sale. Come and take them and we will negotiate with you. It's just kind of backwards. Okay, so if there's anything in this video you like, please hit the like button now. I know I go through some offensive content, but it's reality. You're welcome to your own opinion. So at this point, I want to hit on a couple of lava updates. First one, I want to remind you, they're telling everybody to get your masks ready. So they've got this next pandemic is already planned out because they want you to get your masks ready. Wanted to go over something else. I didn't hit this yesterday. But this goes well with the fines, pairs well with the fine CBDC. I have a terrible sense of humor. But basically, it's Amazon has taken over Whole Foods. And we were talking about this before. In order to pay, they are implementing a scanning system for your hand. And this scans through, maps out your veins so that it is very individual to the person doing this, biometrics, and it ties into your identity as well as your payment method, your credit card, your bank account. So I see this in the future as basically they're heralding this as the new wave of touchless, contactless shopping. So before you can go into the store, you'll have your identity scanned. You go and you take anything off the shelf, and then scanners will weigh what you're taking and knows what you've got. You walk out the door with your groceries and it automatically charges your card. Well, the problem with this is that if you haven't paid your bills or you haven't done something they like, and in the future maybe even voted the wrong way, you're not going to be allowed in that store. With this, put the government in charge of this. We've got the city of Chicago as the first one, talking about owning the food stores. the grocery stores opening these. And when you do government controls, this has historically been an awful idea. They do price fixing and controlling supplies. So that's when you end up with very little supply and super high inflated prices. So just want to warn against that. And with this, kind of running out of time, so I want to wish you all a green trading day if you will be trading this volatility. Um, should be some at the open, and we'll see how you do after that. And just a wonderful day in general. Thank you so much for joining me. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.